The world was in complete chaos. The fury of the waters invaded the cities, dragging everything in their path. Helpless animals struggled in vain against the relentless force of the flood. Children were swept away by the currents, their cries muffled by the roar of the devastating waters. This is the terrifying scene that humanity faced when God decided to cleanse the earth of its corruption. You never must have thought of the flood this way, right? But unfortunately, it really happened. Now, you must be wondering, why would God make such a drastic decision? What could justify such destruction, affecting not only the men and women who corrupted themselves and spread evil throughout the world, but also the innocent creatures of creation, like children and animals? To understand this fatal decision, we need to go back in time to the roots of the corruption and violence that dominated the world before the flood. Before the flood, the earth was filled with wickedness. Giants walked among men, fallen angels mingled with mortal women, and violence spread like a plague. The story of the sons of God and the daughters of men is crucial to unravel the events that led to the divine cataclysm. In this video, we will explore the different theories about the identity of the sons of God and their actions, examine the Bible in Genesis chapter 6, ancient texts like the Book of Enoch, and discover the reasons behind God's decision to bring the flood. Get ready for a deep journey into biblical history, where we will reveal the hidden mysteries behind the destruction of the world before the flood. Welcome to TC Biblical Stories, the channel focused on telling biblical stories in chronological order. If you want to learn more about the mysteries and fascinating events of the scriptures, subscribe to the channel right now and activate the bell to not miss any new content. And if you know someone who has always had doubts about biblical stories, share this video with them. Here, we will cover everything from Genesis to Revelation, and we're just getting started. Join us on this epic journey through the pages of the Bible. Genesis 6, 1-2 tells us,
"When men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves from all whom they chose."
This was the trigger, the point where wickedness began to reach a level that seemed irreversible. But who really were these sons of God? The answer to this question is crucial to understanding the depth of the corruption that led to the flood. One of the theories about Genesis 6, 1-2 suggests that the sons of God were fallen angels. These angels, like Semyaza, upon seeing the women on earth, decided to rebel against the Creator and descend to earth to be with these beautiful women. This forbidden union between celestial beings and humans marked the beginning of an era of great corruption and degradation on earth. These fallen angels not only united with human women, but also taught them and men various forbidden arts. They introduced practices that were unknown and prohibited, spreading knowledge that further corrupted humanity. From this relationship between fallen angels and human women emerged hybrid beings, who would be giants known as Nephilim. According to Genesis 6:4,
"There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown."
the Nephilim, born from this forbidden union, were giants of great strength and violence. They spread terror and disorder throughout the earth, significantly contributing to the corruption and wickedness of humanity. Their presence increased wickedness in the world to unsustainable levels. At that time, the two lineages had multiplied, that of Seth and that of Cain. The sons of Seth followed God's principles, such as justice, goodness, and devotion. But the sons of Cain continued practicing wickedness, disobedience, and violence. The two generations coexisted, but the situation was far from harmonious. While the descendants of Seth sought to live according to divine commandments, the descendants of Cain multiplied, committing various crimes and disobeying God. The presence of the fallen angels only worsened the situation. Using their celestial knowledge, they corrupted the earth to their pleasure, teaching forbidden arts and wicked practices. Meanwhile, the giant Nephilim caused destruction, feeding on everything on earth, including humans. This entire story is told in the Book of Enoch. If you want to read the complete book, the link will be in the description of this video. But it's not just the Book of Enoch that speaks of the fallen angels. The Bible also mentions these events. In Jude 1:6-7 we read,
And the angels who did not keep their proper domain, but left their own abode, he has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness for the judgment of the great day.
But this is not the only theory about who the sons of God were. Another popular theory suggests that the sons of God were actually descendants of the righteous lineage of Seth. This interpretation is supported by many biblical scholars, including Matthew Henry in his commentary on Genesis. He argues that the sons of God represent the pious lineage of Seth, while the daughters of men would be from the corrupt lineage of Cain. These two lineages coexisted side by side, but the tension between them was palpable. The lineage of Seth, despite their devotion, began to dwindle in number. On the other hand, the descendants of Cain multiplied rapidly, bringing with them an increase in corrupt practices and crimes. The situation worsened further when the sons of God, that is, the descendants of Seth, began to intermingle with the daughters of men, the descendants of Cain. This union resulted in the spread of spiritual and moral corruption. The pious values of the descendants of Seth were gradually eroded by the negative influence of the descendants of Cain. This mixture of pious and corrupt lineages resulted in widespread moral degradation. There's also another theory about the sons of God being powerful men or rulers. John Calvin, one of the great theologians of the Reformation, supported this view. He suggested that the sons of God mentioned in Genesis 6 were tyrannical rulers who abused their power, taking all the women they desired without regard for justice or morality. This abuse of power and the consequent oppression of women contributed to the social and moral degradation of humanity. In this perspective, the sons of God were influential men who used their position to exploit and corrupt. They maintained relationships with many women, creating a culture of impunity and disrespect for divine laws. This view complements the idea that society was in a state of total disorder and moral decadence. According to this theory, the Nephilim were the descendants of these powerful rulers and the women they took. They were known for their strength and exceptional abilities, but also for their violence and cruelty. These giants became symbols of oppression and disrespect, further intensifying the corruption of the earth. Faced with this unsustainable situation, God saw that the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. The presence of the fallen angels, the Nephilim, the intermingling of the pious lineages of Seth with the corrupt lineages of Cain, and the abuse of power by the rulers created a world where justice and goodness almost no longer existed. Faced with this unsustainable situation, God decided that drastic action was necessary to purify the earth and restore order. But why did God's decision include the death of animals and innocent children? To understand this, we need to consider the interconnectedness of all creation and the extent of the corruption. Creation is interdependent and interconnected. Humans, animals, and the environment form an interconnected ecosystem. Human corruption affected all parts of creation. The sin and wickedness of men corrupted not only human society, but also nature and animals. The violence and moral degradation of humans had a direct impact on animals and the environment, causing a cascading effect of destruction. The flood was God's attempt at complete purification. God was preparing the earth for a new beginning, where justice and purity could be restored. Therefore, the flood was not just a punishment for corrupt humans, but a necessary purification for all of creation. God was not just destroying, but also preparing the way for a new covenant, a new beginning with Noah and his family, the only ones who found grace in his eyes. Speaking of Noah and his family, that will be the topic for the next video. What was the Ark of Noah really like? Would it be possible to accommodate all kinds of animals as mentioned in the Bible? And was the flood real? Are there proofs of the flood? You will discover everything in the next video. For that, subscribe to the channel and click on the bell to receive notifications. See you next Wednesday.